News Now.
Everybody, I think we're live, right? And this is Nerd News Now. The one where I have snot in my head. Highly coveted. Do we know what episode we're on? It would be cool. Producer Jay, it would be cool to figure out what episode we're shooting because we've been shooting since the dawn of time. Fun fact for everybody, back when Nerd News Now was really born, I used to do it by myself in front of a green screen. And it was really just me talking about, like, I think it was 2018? 218. 218. Yeah. And I would do, it was like 2 comics, 2 toys, and 2 games. And I just did the winging it just like I do now. And they were so used to people doing like the teleprompter. I'm like, nope, I will come off like some kind of robotic human being. It will not work.
You know, I have a teleprompter like right there. And it hasn't been set up for 2 Octobers. I used to use it when we do in-stores this week or when I was doing the precursor to that called the pull list, which it's hard to believe that show's already in like its 4th iteration. But I would set the teleprompter up right here and I'd write my notes out and I would just read them because it was easier than thinking.
Easier thinking.
Turns out it's not easier than thinking because now you have to read and control the teleprompter and produce your own show. And like, it's too much.
I don't know if everybody knows that it's like an actual skill to read teleprompter and not make it sound or look like you're reading a teleprompter. So for all those people that use teleprompter,
right, like to not be I'm Ron Burgundy is very tough. I can read prompter no problem. I can, that's a skill that I have, but I can't also do that and read comments and click the mouse and that's the thing is it's people who can read teleprompter are like people who can play lap steel guitar. They can do it, but that's all they can do at the same time they're doing it. The joke is that a lap steel guitar player can't play and smile at the same time because it takes too much brain power. It's same with reading teleprompter. At least in my opinion.
Justin says you have to use the voice activated one. That's the way to go.
Well, producer Justin, I don't have unlimited budget, buddy. I have the cheap teleprompter that you have to put an iPad into so that it prompts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a free one, he says. And I do have to say thank you so much for Justin for like all the years that he's been working with me and Experience and Space Cadets and whatever crazy thing I threw at them and Eric the boss, who I was just like, no, I promise people will watch such a stupid thing. They like watching nerds be dumb. And he was like, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of nerds being dumb, did anybody do anything dumb over the weekend? Like try and like stay up till 4 a.m. producing a dance party and celebrating it? No? Just me?
No.
Well, I was up at 4 a.m. but for a different reason because I was at my other job.
Yeah.
You're working. I guess it was a little bit crazy. So for my staff, I always give them off Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and I run the shop myself. And this year was one of those weird years where everyone shopped later than I was expecting. Like I didn't really see Christmas sales start happening until 2 weeks out from Christmas, which was terrifying. But on both of those days, it just happened to be the right pacing of people. It was busy all day long. We had better than usual Saturdays for both of those days. But I would say that was my crazy thing, trying to run my own, 8,000 square feet by myself. That's dumb. But everyone was very sweet.
Jay, you just worked the other job?
Yeah, I mean, Friday is when we technically celebrated Jenna's birthday and New Year's Eve. We had it was me, Jenna, Sean, and Bean came over, and we just lit fireworks in the backyard like crazy people. I mean, loud ones too. Ones when they went off, I was like, maybe we shouldn't buy that one again. But then, of course, they went back 2 or 3 times and bought more. So interesting.
You're the ones that the neighborhood Facebook groups are complaining about?
Probably.
Who's lighting up fireworks on Friday?
Probably.
Right? Like I didn't give my dog CBD for Friday. I got it for Sunday. No. Yeah, no, so my nephew was here, which is, one of my favorite things. But there are 2 problems with when my nephew is here. He goes to bed at 7:30. And when you're watching football, you can't yell at the television after 7:30 because he's asleep, and you'll wake him up. And if you wake him up, then you'll wish you hadn't. So I had to come to the office to watch the college football playoff, which involved me yelling at the TV a lot. And then right at midnight, punching a door frame and hurting my hand because it didn't go my way. And then having to sit here for 4 hours with Brainy, still mixing with my hand in pain. So that was my New Year's Eve. We did the countdown in every time zone, and only in Pacific time did we actually have our countdown end at midnight.
Aw, you finally got it right?
Yeah, we were off a few seconds every time zone. Just because we didn't start the stream at dead on 11.
Mm-hmm.
We started at 11:00:05.
Oh.
And so if you timed it up with the streaming time, you were 5 seconds early. If you timed it up with the regular clock, it looked like you were late on the stream, and it took us 3 tries to get it right. So
yes, I was live doing my CBSN show, which I really didn't think anyone was going to show up for, but it's probably the most eyeballs I've had on a show in a year. So I guess everyone else was fine with counting down the clock and shopping for comic books. But they were all like, Happy New Year. I'm like, it's 8:00. Oh yeah, it's your New Year.
yeah, it's one of those I'm glad I work New Year's Eve now and I don't go out anymore. But it's really frustrating when there's football on and you're trying to work and you have a 2-year-old you have to be cognizant of. Not as much fun. So, what news has happened? I suppose we should start with the big one that's on everybody's mind, which is that 1899 has been canceled by Netflix.
That's unacceptable.
It's true. I don't know if Jay's was because 1899 is good or because he thought I was going to talk about Jermy Renner and then didn't.
Yeah, that was it.
So can we do a Kickstarter and Kickstarter another season? Because stupid to not have that go again. What are they thinking?
Netflix is so bad about that. Jenna and I started watching a show called The Imperfects. 3 episodes in, I'm like, man, this is really good. And then I go to look up, when the next season is going to be. Nope, already been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So the other article that I was reading that was kind of relevant to that 1899 is that in a year of 2022, which was down for streamers, right across the board, streamers lost. Netflix was still tops of the streaming platforms. Do you think it has to do with getting out while the getting's good on some of these shows? Making one series and getting out and then not making a second series so people go back and watch them over and over and over and over again?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out whether the right solution is to put out a whole season or if it's the put out 2 episodes on launch day and then make people come back on Friday or whatever or Wednesday or whatever for the next episode, the way Disney Plus rolled out. My personal preference is for the slow roll because then I have something to look forward to. kind of like have this like super high of like the season started and then like I finished it in like 4 hours. Ooh.
You know, that's how. So Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, no, it was the 26th at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
The new season of Letterkenny came out. And by December 26th at noon, I was done with the new season of Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Because it's 6 half hours.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't give you any chance to like all great shows that we grew up with where like you during the week of waiting for the next episode, you got together with your friends and you talked about what could be going on and who was doing what and what your theories were and getting excited and telling another person so they get started. So you got all this stuff, but there's no chance for that now. The big discussion you have with your friends is like, did you finish Letterkenny? That's it.
Well, it's like, but now I will say this, and if Letterkenny had been 6 hours, I probably would still be watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I probably wouldn't have binged it straight through. Because it's like with Wednesday, I'm watching it with a friend. We're watching it 2 hours a week.
Okay.
You know, so we have dinner and watch 2 episodes and then we're done. So there's nothing, there's something to that. But at the same time, it's when you're making a shorter formatted show, you either got to make them longer, or if you're not going to make them longer, you got to space them out further. Right? You've got to do 1 a week if you're doing half hours.
Yeah.
I just think that. Good.
Does it have enough different staggered content that a user can watch for hours, but still have to wait to watch a full season of a show?
It's kind of true.
I'm kind of half and half when it comes to things like this, because to me it comes down to if they drop a whole season, you yourself as a watcher can restrain yourself and you could watch 1 episode, pick a day you want to watch an episode, and watch it week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, it doesn't matter when or how you drop a show. The Disney stuff, I wait till it's done. Okay. I don't watch it week to week because there's just, but then at the same time, you could drop it week to week. There is so much content out there right now that, you know, it's kind of hard to keep up with everything. So sometimes the binging stuff works for a lot of people. Sometimes it's just like, you know, I want to watch this show, but then I'm watching this show. And then if they're superhero shows especially, you're like, okay, now I've kind of mixed up the plot from this show with this other show.
Right. I mean, I'm the same way kind of in that like I watched all of Letterkenny in one day. I'll watch I'll watch a show in one big binge if it's short enough. But if it's long form and they space it out, I don't care. Like, I watched all of The Mandalorian. I think everything in like 3 days so that I could talk about it on this show.
Sure.
What was that, a year ago Christmas or 2 years ago, whatever that was. But I won't watch Andor now. I don't care. It came out too slow. Like, so now I'm going to watch it, but everybody's already seen it.
Yeah.
So
problem,
if it,
right? So
if it comes out too slow, I won't watch it because I got other stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I set this up on my DVR before I left to come here tonight for work. There's a new show that I watched the premiere of last night on ABC. It's a detective show. It's a cop show, and it has it's gonna bug me now. I'm not gonna get it right. But it's a new detective show.
Okay.
It's kind of like Monk if Monk were serious.
Okay.
And I really liked the episode I watched last night. So I set up the DVR to record all the new episodes and notify me when the season ends. and then I'll watch them when it's over. It's the same thing I did with the new Quantum Leap.
Mhm.
It's, that it's just how I do it. I'll watch The West Wing twice, beginning to end. Now again, before I watch this new show.
Is it something Trent?
Yeah, Will Trent.
There you go. Okay. The only reason that I remember that is because the main guy was in the third Transformers movie. That's how I remember it.
Ramon
And he was in Iron
Rodriguez.
Fist. Yeah, and he was in Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
How do you guys think that sponsors or advertisers, how in the world do they get a foothold anymore to have any eyeballs to watch their stuff? Because everyone just skips it all.
I'll be honest. I'm that kind of lazy that I intend to skip it all and then don't.
Oh,
Like, I'll DVR a series and then I'll be watching it going, okay, one more episode. Oh, it's 3 a.m. I want to watch one more episode. Why am I watching commercials? I could have watched 2 more episodes if I hadn't watched. And I'm yelling at myself because, I'm that guy. So I don't mean to watch commercials, but I do.
Well, for us, we only have cable boxes because it's tied with our unlimited internet. We haven't turned those boxes on in 3 years. Everything we do is streaming.
yeah.
So unless it's a YouTube ad, ads don't get watched here.
Yeah. We turned off our cable 6 months ago. Didn't notice.
We technically don't have cable. We have DirecTV Stream,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like Sling TV.
Okay.
But we have a box for it because my dad's favorite activity of all time. You'd think he'd be playing with his grandson, my nephew, or golf, or cutting the grass. No, it's this.
Mm-hmm. Serving.
Wait, this isn't ESPN. Surfing through 4 channels that all start with E and end with SPN.
Mm-hmm.
That's who my dad is. Like, so we have to have one box, but like, I don't have a cable box for my TV. My mom doesn't have one for her TV. For our home theater TV doesn't have one because we just put a Chromecast or whatever on all of them and can control it with our phones.
Yeah.
Dad has to have a box though. So, but I'll tell you, I think it's just going to take someone saying this is the new standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody's going to have to say, okay, we're going to do hour-long content once a week, and that's going to be our standard. Right? So HBO Max or whatever is going to say, this is how we're going to do it. And they're going to have to be so successful that everybody else adopts it. Did Jay freeze?
No. He's just giving you the, what? What you saying, boss?
And I think what you do is you do once a week, 1 hour content on your streamer for like dramas, and you do, twice a week, 1 hour content for for comedy, and then you do half hours.
BBC.
Well, that's exactly it. Is it works for them?
Yeah.
So I think somebody's going to have to standardize, and then going to be so successful that everybody else adopts. And then you'll have standardized streaming schedules. And shows could still come out whenever they want. But I think until they standardize, it's just going to be sort of the Wild West, and nobody's going to know when anything's on.
Yeah, I kind of hate the fact that there are so many streaming services because there's certain shows you want to watch, but I didn't cut cable so I could spend $300 on streaming things,
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a big fan of the bundles. So like I get Spotify Premium, HBO or Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus all for one price. And then I get Paramount Plus and Discovery, Paramount Plus I pay for. but I also get Stars and Encore with that.
Mm-hmm.
I get HBO Plus, but I get that for free with my DirecTV, which gets me regular cable and everything else. And then it's okay. What else do I pay for? That's it.
I'll be interested
Peacock.
To see if our viewership cares, or if they have got a formed opinion about it. Like,
Right.
What do you guys think? Just like,
the other fun thing that we'll have to see that'll go away in 2023 is password sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because Netflix is cracking down. Like currently, I pay for Peacock. My buddy Will pays for BR Live. So because I pay for Peacock, we get to watch all the WWE pay-per-views on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
He pays for BR Live, so you get to watch all the AEW pay-per-views on BR Live, and we just trade passwords. What happens when you can't do that anymore? And
pirating.
Well, and do these companies have a plan for IP manipulation, which is what we're going to do? Like, let's be real.
Well, I mean, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to me because I'm like, if you're paying for something, like where does it stop though? Because what if you're in the same house? Could they eventually one day be like, well, you have 4 people in a house. Yeah, it's the same internet provider, but you only have one screen, but you got 4 or 5 TVs. Like, where does it stop with the controlling?
Well, and so, for instance, you go to a hotel now, and your nicer hotels have the TVs that are streaming enabled. So you go to their website, it's streamtv. Whatever, and you put in the code for the hotel TV, and now you can just stream whatever you already own from your phone.
Yeah, we streamed in France. We streamed Netflix.
Right. Or the Hilton hotels have smart TVs that have Netflix, iHeartRadio, whatever on it, and you just press the button and you log in, and then when you check out of the room, it logs you out. Well, now is Netflix going to try and charge me for sharing my password, or are they going to be able to tell that that's a hotel device? That's a temporary device. We got 5 TVs in my house. Right? Each one of them has their own Chromecast. Each one of them has their own IP address. So it's still me going room to room with my phone. What are they counting? What are they looking at? And that's what we need to clarify, right?
Maybe someday they'll get as crazy as they'll be able to charge by eyeball that's watching, right? Because everyone will surely be integrated with some kind of chip, and it will just see who's watching what.
I mean, it's it's one of those things where it's just it's not super ethical, I guess, to some people to share a password. But at the same time, I mean, is it really that detrimental to the streaming services?
Yes.
Like it is.
That's how they pay for the production that's being made.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Right, but I mean, at what point is it a tipping point, right? That's the question we have to ask. Like, if Jay pays for Netflix and he shares his password with me, my Netflix subscription alone is not going to fund making Knives Out or whatever. Like, it just isn't.
Yeah, but multiply that geometrically by.
Right. So I'm saying that's what I'm saying. What is the tipping point? Right? Like at one point with my Peacock subscription, I had it. Producer JD had it. Hannah, who used to work for Miss Jen, had it. My parents had it. My grandparents had it. My sister had it. My buddy Will has it. That's 7 people. So, like, I'm guessing that's beyond the tipping point.
Sure.
Which is why it's now just 2 people. Right? And I don't mind. If you tell me, okay, you can have 4 accounts on your Netflix subscription, right? One for you, one for, so ideally, so what Jay could have one for Jay, one for Jenna, one for Sean, and one for Han Puppo. Okay, that's it. When you go to someplace and you log into your Netflix, you have to associate it with one of those accounts. Right? That's your limit. I think that's really the answer. So password sharing isn't so much a thing as it's account limitations. Peacock has no account limitations, so I could have 7 people all have different accounts and different stuff they're watching, and they couldn't stop me. I think they have to find natural limitations rather than just saying no password sharing.
Mm-hmm. Tell you, we're a generation from, they'll just charge you Primal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, and I think it's Jay and I are arguing about how my internet is set up at home, Justin and I, because of the way my house is wired, and it's dumb, and I have my own internet for reasons. Because when you're streaming and your parents are trying to watch Yellowstone, there is not enough bandwidth.
They win.
But no, they don't, and then they get real grumpy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But needless to say, I think what they're really going to push for is that it's all centralized on here.
Mm-hmm.
Eliminate the app-based platform on the television and make televisions connectable to your phone. So now all you do is you log in on your phone, and it's based on devices connected as opposed to password shared or users. So you can only have one device per password.
That sounds good.
I think that'd be a reasonable way to do it, right? And then you just cast from your phone or your iPad or whatever to your TV.
Some streaming executive's going to be like, take notes.
Well, and I mean that's what it's going to be, right? Is that it's like when they invented the universal zipper. The guy who invented the zipper and made it universal. Why? It's all the same. Somebody will be like, "This is the way it works," and it will be worked so cleanly and so flawlessly that everyone else will have to adopt it and it'll become an industry standard.
It's very true.
So, all right. Now that we've talked about Netflix and $18.99, even though it's a show I've never seen,
You gotta watch that dadgummit, Kyle.
maybe after I watch Andor.
Okay.
So I'll be caught up by about 2030.
Because then you have to watch 3 Pines.
As it turns out, according to my Facebook memories, I've been watching Night Court for an entire year, and I'm not done. And the new season starts in 15 days.
Better get with it.
And Mark and I have been like talking about this for a year now. And I think we're going to do a watch along podcast or something where it's just that episode was funny or not.
My husband has decided to watch Sliders.
Oh, wow.
Strong choice.
Yes.
So, Jermy Renner.
Mm-hmm.
We should definitely talk about Jermy Renner. At this point, we're recording this Monday night. Is in critical but stable condition after extensive injuries in a snowplow accident.
Find any new info here.
Yes. According to the latest update, Jermy Renner was using a machine called a Snowcat, which is this track-driven piece of machinery with a big snow blade on the front to kind of plow the snow away from his family's house after a big snowstorm just outside of Reno. And it sounds like perhaps the machine got away from him and rolled over his leg.
Ooh.
According to the story, the latest update, he had serious leg injuries and lost a significant amount of blood. Luckily for him, one of his neighbors was a doctor who was able to put a tourniquet on his leg and stop the bleeding until the paramedics arrived. He was airlifted to a hospital, and his snowcat was impounded. I would not recommend watching the video of these things. They have video of the airlift at some point, either taking off or landing. I couldn't really tell. And video of his machine on the back of a truck being hauled away. Police are treating it as a pretty serious, taking it very seriously. And yeah, he's, we don't really know much at the time of this recording.
Send our love, our sincere love, and we're really going to be praying for him and the family. That's real serious. Be careful.
Yeah, the thing that is, it's not. What's interesting is that if you look at his social media, he posts about driving this thing a lot.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like it's a machine he was very comfortable with. So to find out what happened will be, an important part of this story. But yeah, you just hope for a full recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I first heard this when Dan posted something about it, and when I saw it, my heart just like immediately sank. I was like, we just started the new year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hope we don't lose somebody this soon.
Well, and that's the thing. Like the reason I even looked is that I had a notification from someone whose name I didn't recognize on the Experience Facebook page going, prayers for a speedy recovery for Jeremy. I'm going, what is happening? Like, I thought somebody had commented on the wrong page or somebody was spamming us, or that I got notification for like the church Facebook page and not the Experience Facebook page. And I was checking to see what was happening, and I saw Dan's video. I'm like, oh, well, that's not good. And so, yeah, just prayers for a speedy recovery. Hope for a speedy recovery.
Yeah. And Jermy Renner's a tough guy. In that movie Tag, what happened? He broke both his arms, and they had to CGI his arms for the rest of the movie. But he did the rest of the movie, broken arms.
For the movie Tag?
Yeah. Wasn't that what happened?
I that's how do I put this? For that movie, I just wait and heal up and say come back and shoot it later. It wasn't like it was Hawkeye, the movie, or something. Right. It was Tag, a movie where he's chasing Ed Helms. But it reminds me of that story. Reminds me of the story from Friends where they had to shoot Friends episodes out of order because Matt LeBlanc tripped on a coffee table and dislocated his arm in the middle of a scene. And so he had to spend the next 2 episodes with his arm in a sling, but they couldn't finish shooting the episode that he hurt himself doing till after he was out of the sling. Wow. Right. So the way you'll know it is there's an episode where you hear what sounds like Joey having private time, and Chandler, Matt Perry opens the door and goes, right out, and as he does, Joey, you hear Matt LeBlanc fall, and Chandler goes, well, that's why your parents told you not to jump on the bed. And then he spends the next 2 episodes with his arm in a sling. So they had to write an opening to an episode to justify the arm being in the sling. So I would have I'm shocked they didn't just write that into that movie Tag, because it wouldn't have made it any worse. But no, but back to seriousness, prayers for Jermy Renner and his family. I have to talk to Dan about this next story that I want to talk about. They've launched a new series of cards in Marvel Snap.
Oh, that's all you care about. Why didn't you lead with that story?
Well, just they've the thing that made me quit Magic is now in Marvel Snap.
No.
The control deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to play it, but I really don't want to hate myself for playing it. So
Just try it.
Oh no, I played Control in Magic and I couldn't stand myself for doing it. Because the whole premise of the deck is that your opponent can't do much.
Mm-hmm.
I always prefer when both people have big offenses and it's just let me hit you more than you hit me.
Wasn't control deck always white, blue, or something?
Yes.
Ugh.
Uh-huh. And I was always a black-red player or black-red-green. So, you know, I always hated control decks, but it's in Marvel Snap now, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
We're coming out of a time when the big thing was chain control. So on reveal actions happen, and then you play a card to make those same on reveal actions happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could play basically 3 cards in 4 turns and fill your whole board with 7 power cards.
So OP.
Yeah. That was the new one. So we'll see what happens with control. I get that it's balancing out the White Tiger Odin deck, but still. That was the nerdiest moment of nerd news now, for certain.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Jay doesn't know what you're talking about in any way.
Nope.
Jay, you got to download this game, man. You'll be addicted and you'll be angry at me and it'll be great.
Never a Magic guy.
Oh, I love Magic the Gathering. It was such a great game.
I feel like Justin should put like little hearts floating above Kyle's head.
He will now too, because he's been trolling me all episode. So.
Yep.
What else is happening? Has anybody else seen any news?
No, I saw a really sweet post today though that I was very happy about. It was someone who works on Jimmy's little beaters from Aftershock. It was very sweet and said that yes, he'd been caught in the bankruptcy and yes, he was owed money, but that they were still working on the book with anticipation that Aftershock would be back and back to it. And just barring that, like if everything totally fell apart, that they were going to still have it be made somewhere. So I just thought it was very refreshing to have someone say, life happens. These people always treated me really nice and they didn't mean this and I'm still with them. So
yeah, I came down on somebody privately on social media who was kind of talking about that going, hey, why do you need to have an opinion on this? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, did you work for them? No. They owe you money? No. Then why are you talking?
mm-hmm.
It's so many people were so quick to judge and so quick to jump on it. And not enough people were standing back saying, hey, what are the creators who are actually affected by this saying? What are the people who are actually involved having to say? And how can we support those people? That it, you know, it's good to hear somebody going, look, bad stuff happens. We get it. But this is how we're going forward. This is how we're pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
As for anybody else, can't speak for them, but this is how we're doing it on this book.
Right.
And you can't tell me that because we know who writes the Jimmy series.
Mm-hmm.
And that person also is good friends with another friend of all of ours who happens to publish another series about Jimmy. That wouldn't be an incredible crossover.
Yes, it would.
I'm going to send that person a text.
Yeah. It's like, make this happen for us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that people don't understand is it's just like any other business. Like I was trying to explain this to someone about comic book shops, maybe at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, you just don't understand. Like a store can be in really great standing, have plenty of money, be doing everything right, being good to their people and paying a good wage, all these things. You've been doing all these things, and one hiccup, 1 month hiccup of people not picking up their books or whatever can destroy a business. It's the same for publishers. One time, the funding that's supposed to come through to finance the next quarter gets a hiccup. This kind of stuff happens. It's just the way business works. No one was sitting in the back room going, wow, the money is mine. And no one, I'm not going to give that to the artist. That definitely was not what was happening.
Right. I mean, I will cop to part of the reason that my store faced the trajectory it did for its last 3 years being open was because I had a surgery during the first year we were open. And the safeguards that I had put into place for dealing with having had that surgery and taking that time off didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Someone down the line dropped the ball. And the end result was this insurmountable, unovercomable obstacle that I had to deal with for the next 3 years. And I'm still dealing with.
Yep.
It's unfortunate also to see people dogpile on a situation that most of them, it's an outrage they have that's not warranted. Like they don't even know what's really going on, but they just see one person says something about it, and everybody's just like, oh, well, Aftershock's bad. So let's just all and not even having to know, not even knowing anything about it. We see a situation. I talked about this the last time I was on the show last Monday. It's the same situation that's happening with James Gunn and Peter Safran right now. Nobody knows what they're doing, but we're all going to dogpile on them. It's just like, especially if you don't know what's going on, you really don't have a dog in that fight. So,
yeah.
Hey, my line is, if it doesn't directly affect you, you don't have to have a vocal opinion about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's okay to have an opinion. I mean, you guys know me. I have opinions on literally everything, from the right ratio of milk to chocolate and milk chocolate to the right order to watch Star Wars in, to whether or not Ryan Johnson spells his name correctly or not. I have opinions. It's my whole thing. It's my gimmick.
I thought his name was Rain, and that was my fault.
That's how he spells it.
Okay.
Which means he spells his name wrong. But when it doesn't affect me, I don't necessarily talk about it. Right? Like, I will talk about it on the air if I'm supposed to. But otherwise, I just kind of sit back and shut up. Because what's the benefit to having a public opinion on something that doesn't affect you? What do you gain from it?
Well, I think it's some of these folks want to find people to join them in their opinion. They want to be validated. I don't agree with that either. I mean, you look at my social media, and it's usually experience stuff or Kickstarter. I hardly have an original thought on my social medias. I look like a spam bot. But if I don't know something, the old adage, it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought of a fool than to open it and make it true.
Verify.
Paraphrasing there, because I'm not exactly sure how the quote goes, but there's some people out there that they live in that bubble of, I want to be negative and I want to bring all the negative people in with me to validate my point. But me personally, I try to stay out of that. I don't know anything about. All I hear is I get my news from the show that I watch, and that's Dan, and that's the experience. I'm the guy that works for the experience, but I also watch all the shows for the experience too. So unless Dan says it, I don't usually pay attention to it.
Yeah, I wish we could see a trend. Like, there's been this weird trend of, like, maybe it started when we started saying that, like, superheroes like Superman needed to have a foible, be really secretly have, like, some kind of dark side. Maybe that just kind of, like, progressed in society where we feel like we have to, like, our first reaction is to be negative about a thing. Like, why can't we make it a trend to be positive and uplift people? I know that sounds like super grandma right now, but I mean, man, the world's got enough against it. Why can't we be for each other?
I know.
I appreciate what you're saying, Miss Jen, but I'm also reading the Twitter thread of James Gunn right now
You shouldn't do that.
Why?
to get fired up for my show later.
There you go.
This-
You can. This
poor guy can't even post a picture of a cheese plate or his picture with Stan Lee or anything without people just talking about, look, I said it last time, I say it this time. I'm upset about Henry Cavill too, but leave James Gunn alone.
I don't
Just
think
leave
Henry
James-
Cavill is upset about Henry
No.
Cavill. I think he's happy about being released so he can go do the thing he wants to.
This is the tweet. My heart is with at Jermy Renner praying emoji. Here is the response tweet. Your heart is with Marvel. Fire James Gunn.
It's terrible.
Restore the Snyderverse.
It's terrible.
My heart is with Henry Cavill. Fire James Gunn. Bring back Henry Cavill. Like, so I will say this. I did go to the deepest, darkest, worst part of the internet. I get that. I let the darkness in here. But, and I'm with you, Miss Jen. It's, why can't we just be positive about stuff? You know what? We were talking about the Aftershock thing, and did you see Hans fired up too?
Go, doggo, get it.
Hans fired up too. You know, did you see who? There were two names on there that were very interesting to me on the list of people who were owed money, and that's Mike Martz and Joe Pruitt, who were the bosses.
Yep.
That doesn't mean, that means it wasn't that somebody was squirreling away money, being negative, being a bad person, or anything negative. It just means that bad stuff happens.
Mhm.
If those guys are owed money, it means everybody's owed money. And it means that they probably weren't getting paid a lot earlier than a lot of other people.
Yep.
So look at the leadership that they had, who were willing to be in there, be in the bad with everybody else, and say, okay, this is actually how this works. This is actually a company that just had a bad thing happen.
Wasn't Enron where all the guys at the top sold all their stock ahead of time knowing what was going on and leaving all the people high and dry? It's not that.
Right. Yeah.
We love you, Aftershock.
Yes.
We're still with you.
Yes.
All right. So last thing we should talk about are new books that are out this week.
Woohoo!
So for me, there's a few number ones that are very interesting. Black Sun from Ablaze Comics is on my list.
What's that about?
Black Sun is it's the artist Kadnichi who does House of Slaughter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Black Sun has arisen twice. It's a dark dawn whose raids have done terrible things to people's minds, driving them all to all sorts of horror. 12 years have passed since the last time, and the world still fears a return of that inexplicable phenomenon. So it's a horror, sci-fi, pretty much straight ahead horror, sci-fi book.
Okay, I like horror sci-fi a lot.
Yeah, Children of the Black Sun.
Children of the Black Sun. Okay.
Joe Fixit #1 from Marvel is also on my list because anytime you can put the Hulk in a 3-piece seersucker suit,
Yeah,
you can have my money. Mosley #1, which I'm sure is on everybody's lists.
I got to read an advanced copy of it. Everyone should put that masterpiece on their poll right now. Just don't even care about what it's about. Just walk into it blind. I guarantee you will love it.
And I'm not sure what this is now. From Dark Horse, Flux House. I don't know if it's kind of like their Barger Books kind of imprints. You know, if it's just, hey, Matt Kint, this is what we're going to call all of your stuff. Flux House, I don't know. But it's Matt Kint and Christian Ward, Spy Superb.
Oh, awesome.
But Matt Kint is writing and drawing it and doing the A covers, but I got the B or the C covers, which are the Christian Ward covers.
Mm-hmm.
Which are like if Picasso was drawing mob noir art.
Okay, I'm down with it.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
By the way, just so everybody knows and understands, please do not yell at your local comic shop tomorrow when you go in for What's the Furthest Place from Here, number 3 deluxe edition that's supposed to have a record in it. We still don't have number 2s with records in them. They gave us the books, but no record. There's a big production snafu. Records are super popular right now, and so they're behind in making them. I have no way to know whether those issues are going to have the records or not. Your LCS is not hiding them from you, I assure you.
I can tell you this, that in the music industry, there are vinyl pressings of things like Taylor Swift records that are a year delayed.
If she can't get it made, then...
So it's something to be paying attention to in that regard, is that this is just a huge production snafu. Last number 1 on my list this week comes from a good friend of Jay's. She Brings the Devil number 1 from Bad Bug Media.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No, I didn't buy it from a Kickstarter and then put it on my pull list to buy it from my store just so my store would order Bad Bug Media. No, that's not a thing I did.
Yes, you did. Tell the truth.
Smart. That's amazing.
So, there are a few other things, but those are the notable ones for me in terms of new books.
I don't know if this is true or not. I would love to read it if it is. Calculated Man number 4, Aftershock. It's on the list.
I see it on my list, but yeah, I don't know if it's coming out or not.
And Astronaut Down number 5. Maybe they shook some loose of the printer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of put all my Aftershock books that I was getting pulled are still on my list to be pulled, but if they don't come in, they don't come out, they don't whatever, I don't, stuff happens, Sure. I'll be upset, but I won't be surprised. On the trade paperback front and the trade hardcover front, DC Heroes and Villains Legion of Three Worlds hardcover.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not a book that a lot of people read the first time it came around. But given the people who are in charge of DC Media right now, you might oughta, because it seems like a thing that they would be into.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite Vertigo comics ever, Deathbed. They've done a 2023 re-release of the trade paperback of Deathbed, which is Josh Williamson and Riley Rossimo, who are two very, very good friends of mine, working together. It's what would happen if the most interesting man in the world from the beer commercials, not like an actual most interesting man in the world, was dying on his deathbed, but he was only dying to fake out the demons that were hunting his soul.
Oh.
And he hires you to help him battle them.
I accept.
Right. From First Second Books, this has been on my list for a long time. Now Let Me Fly, a portrait of Eugene Bullard, hardcover, which is the movie is coming out about this guy. It's the fighter plane movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know
where he's the only black pilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is that.
Oh,
but it's a
perfect.
comic book version of that same story. And then the third volume of Harrow County, Tales from Harrow County.
There's some other trades that I am interested in. It's the second volume of Good Boy. And then Nook, which is a Source Point Press book about a little girl and a cat in a house they just moved into that's quite haunted.
Yeah, there's definitely some other ones that I will likely pick up eventually, but those are the only ones that I pre-ordered. I know my shop will have the Monkey Prince Volume 1 trade hardcover because, of course, they'll have the Monkey Prince. It's Animal Doing People thing. They know I'll buy it.
Yes.
There's a Usagi Jimbo, Lone Goat and Kid trade paperback. What was the other one? Oh, Murder Inc. Volume 1, Valentine's Trust, from Dark Horse. So,
And then I read it already as a graphic novel, I think, because Pat Shand had them at his booth at New York Comic Con. But the #1 issue from Black Mask of Gangster A Barista.
mm-hmm. Which that's a book that's been around for a little bit, and many of us have read over the time.
Mm-hmm.
But look, that book is going to be hysterical, and Pat's great, and I'm trying to find active ways to work with Pat more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that book is going to be crazy. So I was on Kickstarter today, backing a Kickstarter because Jenna sent me a Kickstarter I couldn't not back. And I was looking at other ones, and there's a book on there that I'm like, this has got to be a Pat Shand or a Raven Gregory book. And it was neither of them, and I was shocked. And now I can't remember the name of it. But I go, this has got to be a Pat Shand book. And when it wasn't, I was significantly baffled. Let's see here. Hold on.
Is it Pat Shand writing under a pseudonym?
Oh, that wouldn't shock me. Smoke Weed, See the Future. This is the name of the book.
I feel like I've heard
wait, it is Pat Shand.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So,
see, I always feel bad when it comes to this part of the show because I just let Jenna put whatever in our pull list.
Mm-hmm.
I pay so much attention to the Kickstarter and things like that I'm just like, I find out about the new book when I read it or what's coming out when I get it.
yeah, that's still one of my favorite things to do every month. Is go through and pick out what I need to get on FOC before it goes to FOC, and call my shop and be like, okay, here's the weird stuff that you're only going to order one copy of for me, and have them go.
They know you're really going to pick it up, right?
Well, right, and that's this thing, right? Is like I order a lot of books that they just wouldn't carry because they're primarily a Marvel, DC, Image kind of store. So to get these books from a Blaze or what's it now called, Sumerian, it used to be Behemoth. They just wouldn't carry them because they don't get enough call for them. But I call at initial order and order the stuff that's not on FOC, and at FOC and order the stuff that's for FOC. And they gladly order the books for me because they know I'm going to pick them up. And every week, it gives me something to look forward to every week. And then I have my list.
It's like Christmas every month.
True.
So I know you guys have heard me talk about this book, GODSLAP, before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've cleaned them out of all the books that they have. And so I've resorted to craziness of having them print #1 with a special cover for us. So not everyone can get GODSLAP-ed.
Yes.
I still haven't watched they've got a follow-up trailer that I gotta watch still.
Oh yeah, they haven't sent that to me. That's good.
I will say this though, for books coming out, now that I thought about it for a second, after watching Talking Shop that was on earlier today, I'm really excited for Mosley, but I also want to go back and read Farmhand now. I've never heard of that.
Really good.
That sounds really good. Yeah. I've never read it, so.
Have you read Chew?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say you got to read Chew too, bro.
Yeah, Chew's good. I like Chew.
I'm still bummed about what happened with the Chew TV show.
And it looks like Farmhead TV show now.
Yeah.
Got eaten by the pandemic.
Well, Chew, was going to be led by a friend of mine who couldn't get out of his contract to be on the other comic book show he was on until they fed him to the zombies.
Oh.
So.
Such is life.
Yeah, what are you going to do? All right. Well, we'll put the GODSLAP trailer. Thank you for watching the GODSLAP trailer. And thank you for watching Nerd News Now, part of the Kingdom of Geekdom on Woodlands Online, sponsored by the Adventure Begins Comics and Games and Space Cadets Collection. Check out our other shows on Woodlands Online, like Weekly Fallout Sports Talk, the Adventure Begins Show, 4 Reels, The Best You, Between the Trees Business Talk, and much more. You can watch all of these on Woodlands Online and on our partner station KVQT HD21 over the air on your TV. All these shows and more on Roku right now. Just search and add Woodlands Online TV to your streaming lineup. Now you can listen to our podcast show on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and wherever else you get podcasts. So for Jay and Jen and Mark and Brainy, who weren't here, but we're going to give them credit for it anyway, I've been Kyle, and this has been Nerd News Now.